Mic check, mic check, mic check, 1, 2.
Hey ma'am, how are you today? Good afternoon, everybody. Today I am joined by our City Administrator, Chris Shorter, Acting Director of DPW, Matt Garbach, Steve Strickland, Director of the Office of Project Management, Deputy City Administrator Daniel Ramos, Anita Taylor, Chief of DPW's Customer Support and Services. Uh, who else am I missing? Oh, I'm like, Antoine Ryan Johnson, President of the Senior Union of Baltimore, and Police Commissioner Michael Harrison. I didn't see you, Madam President. I knew you were supposed to be here. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We are outside of the Baltimore City Department of Works meter shop. Back in October, it was announced by the last administration that 68 DPW workers from the meter shop will be laid off and their jobs will be outsourced to a private company, Itron. At that time, I stood outside of City Hall with our workers and expressed my grave concerns with a rush plan to privatize a core function of DPW's operations during a pandemic. For almost 4 months, DPW meter shop employees have been in a state of limbo, unsure if they have a job during a global pandemic that we know has had economic fallout and hardships for everyone. No one should be left in a state of limbo for that period of time. That's not how we should treat our city employees, in particular, a division where 92% of them are Baltimore residents. Yesterday, I personally met with the employees and President Ryan Johnson of the meter shop to deliver a message. The city is not moving forward with the Itron contract and they will not be laid off. Our meter shop workers are a part of our Baltimore family. They have my support as mayor, especially in this time of transition when we recognize the changing technology and changing scope of their work. We all understand that our water system has challenges, and under my administration, we will make much needed improvements for our residents and all of our customers. As we stand here today, that starts with ensuring the workers that provide the most core function of our water system have the support and resources they need to be successful. I would look I look forward to supporting DPW Director Garbach as we make this transition. I would like to now turn it over to City Administrator Chris Shorter for a few words about what this announcement means for our workers and for our residents. Mr. Administrator?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon. I am Chris Shorter, City Administrator for Baltimore City. I appreciate being able to stand with the Mayor today to announce that we're not outsourcing the meter shop operation. This is a clear statement that this administration is committed to doing everything possible to train, equip our employees with to train and equip our employees with the tools and skills necessary to deliver quality services to our residents and to our customers. The initiatives that Director Garbark will describe in a moment are an exciting and new opportunity for our City Hall to partner with the utility to bring all the resources for the city to improve our water meters, which will help improve our challenge billing system. We will also be announcing some leadership changes that will bring stability to this unit. I would like to thank our employees for their continued hard work and dedication to our city. Like the mayor mentioned, we had an opportunity yesterday to meet with our meter shop employees. This is an exciting time for them. And again, I am extremely excited to stand with our mayor today to announce that we're not outsourcing this shop. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Acting Director Garbark for further details. Director?
Thank you, Administrator Shorter. Mr. Mayor, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matt Garbark. I'm the Acting Director of the Department of Public Works for Baltimore City. Water meters are the key component in how utilities generate bills. They measure the amount of water that is consumed at a residence or business, and that data is then used to create those bills. In essence, they are our cash registers. It is critical that our meters work properly. They are the first things we check when a customer questions the accuracy of their bill. However, instead of looking to the private sector to help improve these operations, as Mayor Scott just mentioned, we are going to do just the opposite. We will be focusing intensely on the meter shop, investing in our employees, and strengthening their knowledge and skills. To do this, we are deploying a high-functioning, outcome-oriented, and data-driven task force made up of employees from the Mayor's office and the Department of Public Works. This task force will be detailed full-time to the water meter shop to drive change and improvement. They will work with each and every meter shop employee to get them the skills and training they need. This team will review all aspects of meter operations and will work to create a highly skilled, efficient, and effective team at the meter shop. We are excited at the potential of this initiative, and I'd like to introduce Steve Strickland, who will be the Mayor's Office lead for this task force. He is a known change agent throughout the city and has risen through the ranks of DPW and DGS. We are looking forward to improving the quality and performance of our water meters and our meter operations overall. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam President, would you like to address the audience? Thank you.
Of course, my tablet was cut off at this particular time. My tablet cut off. Good afternoon. It is a pleasure to stand here with Mayor Scott for this announcement. The mayor has touched on next steps for the affected city employees, so I want to talk a little bit about unity. Nationally, we are hearing a lot about the need to heal and unify. Unity is only achievable if the parties who have been wronged are made right. Thankfully, Mayor Scott and his administration have made right the wrong of the needless threat of termination and privatization. We at the City Union of Baltimore worked with the mayor's office to protect these workers and at the same time ensure that residents get the high quality water meter service they deserve. In doing so, everyone's needs are met. Although there is a healthy tension at times, the mayor's announcement today demonstrates that public employee unions and local government leaders can work together to find common ground and minimize adversity. When we work together for the common cause of providing high quality service, both the city and its employees can benefit. Our members are dedicated and capable employees who welcome training and are eager to collaborate with the city and bring their field experience to bear to make our entire water system function more efficiently. Before concluding, I would be remiss if I did not take a moment to thank the many allies that the City Union of Baltimore had in fighting back against the privatization efforts that would have resulted in more than 60 layoffs of employees. Our friends from Food and Water Watch, Jews United for Justice, the Baltimore Right to Water Coalition, and community partners and allies stood tall for these workers to ensure that privatization would not cast its dark, job cutting shadow over our city. We are thankful for them and their solidarity. As much, we are also very grateful to Mayor Scott for listening and for his understanding, ultimately bringing the best solution to the table at the end of the day. This is how a city, its workforce, and unions should work together, because when this happens, all of us, including workers and residents, ultimately benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. And before we take question, I want Commissioner Harrison to come up to address the recent incidents of violence in Baltimore City. Mr. Commissioner?
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. In this past week, members of the Baltimore Police Department have made 18 gun arrests for those illegally carrying guns in our city, which is up 68% compared to this same time last year. Now, in addition to getting more guns off the street this month, our department has announced several homicide and non-fatal shooting arrests of individuals this week, all who have extensive backgrounds and are repeat violent offenders. This week, we announced the arrest of 35-year-old Troy Vinay for the shooting death of 30-year-old Gerald Jones in the 1400 block of Arlene Street from June 8, 2020. We arrested 22-year-old Keon Henry for a shooting in the 5600 block of Purdue Avenue on January 9th, 21, and 57-year-old Dwayne Elliott for a shooting in the 1500 block of East Chase Street on January 18th of 21. And today, we also announced the arrest of one of our top 5 suspects, 43-year-old Rodriguez Woodland, who was wanted for first-degree assault. The men and women of the Baltimore Police Department continue to target and continue to pursue those responsible for violence in our city. And while violent crime continues to trend in the right direction, we know that there is so much more work that needs to be done in apprehending those responsible for such senseless violence in our city. In partnership with Metro Crime Stoppers and the ATF, a $7,000 reward for any information on the identity and suspects involved in the tragic murder of Dante Barksdale. We know that there were many members of the community who were in the area during the time of the shooting, and we are again asking for our community to provide us with any information that can help us in bringing justice and closure to the many people whose lives he touched. Now, I said this on Sunday, but I want to reiterate. Mr. Barksdale embodied a message of redemption, peace, and forgiveness to many of our young people, and his death is a tragedy to all those that knew him and his work in Baltimore. And so our detectives are still seeking now to identify another suspect who was wanted for a double murder that occurred on Monday, December 21st in the 1200 block of West Pratt Street. Remember, a 41-year-old Natalie Wright and 36-year-old Cherie Armstead were killed while sitting in a vehicle. There's a $4,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest or conviction of person or persons responsible for taking the lives of these 2 women. If you know the whereabouts of any of these suspects, you can call Metro Crime Stoppers tip line at 1-866-7-LOCK-UP. You can also anonymously text the tip by visiting the Metro Crime Stoppers of Maryland website. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to our mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. And I just want everyone to reiterate, if you know uh, who, if you have a clue, who took Dante Tater, as I like to call him's life, someone, as I said the other day, who saved thousands of lives in the city of Baltimore, we need you to step forward. We need you to step forward. As we said, there's a $7,000 reward in this case, but I know that if he were still here, he were here today, that Dante would particularly be asking for folks to step forward, and he would be out on the street trying to figure it out himself. The 2 young ladies that we lost, we cannot, again, as I said last week, allow mothers to be taken away from their children. As I said last week, one of the most painful things that you ever have to do in this job is to speak to young people who have lost a parent. Imagine the pain in the eyes of someone who is not yet 10 years old, knowing that their mother is never coming home, or a teenager knowing that their mother is never going to come home. We really need people to step up. We should not allow people to take anyone's life away, let alone someone who saves lives for a living, and mothers of children who are just cowardly shot down in our city. And with that, we will take questions. Thank you, everybody.
First, I need
Alexa, yes?
hi. First, I need to clarify. So the smart meters will continue to exist, but those employees will be reading them. Do I have that right?
They will not be privatized. I will let
Right.
Director Garbar go into direct. We will have our city employees going out to do that, and we'll be training them in order for them to do that.
So is it believed that that was the problem in it not being effective? That people weren't trained properly? Is that what we feel like is the main issue here?
Well, what I'll do, Alexa, I'm going to bring up the director, but I'm also going to say again, what you're going to hear from me consistently is where we're going to be moving forward to make sure that we're operating in the best interests of Baltimoreans and how we can operate our city better now. You are not going to get from me a lot of pouring dirt on an administration that's no longer here. We're going to move forward, but I'll let Director Garbart come forward and talk about what actually happened and all the work that went into it. Director?
As I mentioned, the water meters are the first thing that we look at when we're looking at billing issues. And the way we have to go about improving this system, it's never been done to this level. We have to go issue by issue, peeling away certain issues to figure out where some of these problems lie. The first place to start is the meter. That's where the water passes through from the service main to the house. So we have to figure out that those meters are working correctly. So this is the first place to start. And what we're going to do is we are going to train our workers to be able to troubleshoot, to find these issues, and to fix them so that we know that at least that meter is not the problem. Then we can go look at what the other issues are. And this is just going to be a issue. We're going to look at the problems and we're going to find where they are so that we can fix them once and for all.
How many employees will be trained and how many hours of training?
All of that is to be determined. We are going to do individual assessments of each and every employee to make sure that they have individual plans that they can meet and that they can achieve what they need and what they might not need. So it's going to be different for different employees based on what skills they might have and what skills they're lacking and that we need to provide in training.
So like those 50, 60, that number, how many will be?
Well, there's over 60 employees here. So all 60 employees are going to have individual meetings and we're going to work with each and every one of them.
Thank you.
Earlier, or I guess it was in December, the Inspectors General released a report that showed that these particular employees have not been on the job this year, that they've been on paid leave. Have they returned, and how many of them?
I'll let the director answer the question. But again, we're bringing folks to back. Training is a part of that, a big part of that.
About 50% of the meter shop employees are back at this time. So those are the employees who are doing city operations and troubleshooting city meters at this time. The county utilized a contract to utilize Itron to get their reads. It's a 6-month contract.
When will the rest of them come back?
As soon as this task force gets to work, and as soon as they arrive and begin working. So that'll be within the next couple weeks.
Thank you.
These meters have been in place for a number of years. Is there a reason these employees weren't trained on how to repair them before now?
Well, what I would say, Emily, is that I can't explain why previous administrations did any of the things that they did. I can only talk about how we are going to, as I've said before, do a systematic investigation into how we can fix this water system once and for all. I cannot speak to prior administrations and what they did and did not do. I can only speak for how we're going to move forward so that people in Baltimore City and the surrounding jurisdictions that use our system are getting accurate bills they can trust, and on time. Thank you.
Mayor, at 2, Dr. Fauci is meeting with ministers from the area who will hopefully relay the message about the vaccine to their congregations. Have you gotten the vaccine? Do you plan to get the vaccine?
So I am planning to get the vaccine, and I mean we've said this publicly before. I am not, especially with right now where the vaccine is and how limited it is. I'm not going to jump the line. You're not going to. A needle in my arm means that one of our seniors, one of our frontline workers, is not going to get it. I am going to get it where a normal 36-year-old would get it in the pyramid, but I will be getting it.
And what kind of value do you see in the ministers relaying that message to the people in their own communities?
Listen, we know, especially in a city like Baltimore, we know that in our communities, our black and brown communities, we have issues with trust, and rightfully so, of medical institutions and vaccinations of things that have been done to black people here in Baltimore and across the country. In order to have credible messengers, in order to get that message through people, you have to have credible messengers. And we know, especially for our older adults, their pastor, their minister, their imam is a person that they're going to trust above anyone else. So having them be a part of that message is a great thing.
Mr. Mayor, today's the lifting of the restrictions on some of the restaurants. We know some owners have expressed concern about that 1 hour limit. Have you received those concerns as well, and do you plan to relook at that?
So Alexa, we'll look at everything because we look at our restrictions over the week's period. I've heard some owners say that they thought it was a good idea. I heard some said it was a bad idea. But what we will be doing is looking at the impact. We're looking at the numbers as we always do, and we're just hopeful, as I said again, having the lowest positivity rate in the state. We're hopeful that folks are responsible so that we can keep that moving and we can keep our folks open.
I have another question for the acting director, if I may. Um, I, Obviously, DPW, a lot of umbrellas under that. We're addressing the water system here today. Still a lot of issues with trash. How is that backlog looking?
Well, if we're talking about routine services, which are curbside, we are hitting every route. We have every route this week. All recycling routes have been collected on time. All trash routes have been collected on time. If you're talking about the street and alley cleanings, we are working to reduce that backlog each and every day, and we're balancing it with the most important, the most safety, most health intensive issues that we are going to address first and foremost, and then we're going to be working on anything and everything else that is in the system so that we can get it addressed.
Thank you for that update.
Thank you, everybody.